Hey, thanks so much. All right, gentlemen, and if there's any ladies out there, I'm pretty excited to be back on, talking a little bit of ball. This time has been really good for me to do a lot of self-evaluation and really do some checks and balances within our offense, and then also on a more on a smaller scale, just who I am as a quarterbacks coach and how I'm teaching different things to our group of young men. And so, what I wanted to talk about today is just is quarterback footwork. And originally, the title of this was, is and was simple footwork, big advantage. And what I really wanted to get into today was not just pass game footwork, but also running back, quarterback, mesh footwork, exchange footwork. And as I sort of did the run through, a couple of the dry runs, I found that there just wasn't going to be enough time to really talk about the pass game and the run game. So what we are going to focus a lot on today is going to be the pass game and the different drops we take and some of the reasons we take those drops. And as always, chime in, ask any questions you may have, and hopefully this is a good 45 minutes to an hour, whatever we got slotted. So again, simple footwork, big advantage. So we're going to be what we're going to cover. We're going to cover pass drops, how many, why, and then what is too much. And that's going to be the basics of the PowerPoint presentation. Then we are going to watch a decent amount of film. And Coach G, I just cannot get over just staring at my PowerPoint with headphones on, talking into an abyss. So this is just one of these days I'm going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable. But so when it comes to footwork, you got to sort of look at your system, or look at your personnel, and you got to think to yourself or evaluate who do you have taking snaps. And then I think another question that sometimes gets forgotten is who have you had taking snaps? And as I evaluate some of the quarterbacks that I've had in the past, I've had everything from really nimble-footed, really smooth running, speedsters, if you will, agile kids, to big plotters. And at the end of the day, I know I was a big plotter, but you got to know who you have right now and then who you have had, because that's going to help develop your system and develop structure for what you're actually going to be installing on not just a year-to-year basis, but over maybe the culmination of a couple-year span in your offense or in your quarterback system. So you got to really think about what those drops will look like for each of the people you currently have versus who you could have versus who you have had. And at the college level, we're at the, we are lucky enough to try to recruit the guy that fits our system. But at the end of the day, you do get hamstrung, especially at the high school level, with just the guys you have. And you've got to make sure that your system or your footwork fits those guys. So who we are. And I think this is really important, who we are here at Whitewater. I think this is really helps determine exactly what we're going to try to do. We are a pro-style read system, so we're going to use a lot of personnel groups, but we are going to utilize some read zone, speed option things in the run game, try to maximize hats in the run game, adding the quarterback in. We're going to own the A-gaps in the run game. We're going to challenge vertically using play action. Like I said, we will utilize the quarterback in the run game. We are almost exclusively gun, which is key to a couple slides from now, and then also some of the discussion. And then we're 50-50 run pass, if at all possible. Now, over the course of my 2 years here, we've been actually closer to 63% run to pass, and there's a variety of reasons for that. We have had a decent amount of success, which is awesome, knock on wood. Hopefully that continues. And so there are games where we are trying to get out of the game in the fourth quarter, if you will. And we play in Wisconsin. We had our nicest weather game of the entire season. I think it was week 13 in the quarterfinals down in Texas against Mary Hardin Baylor. That was the best day we had all year. I mean, it's the middle or early December. So you're going to run the ball a little bit more maybe when it's raining, snowing, sleeting, windy, whatever it may be. So how much is too much? And I really got to thinking about this. I've sat in on a couple of Dub Maddox's R4 presentations, and obviously he's got a fantastic system. And I just remember taking notes. And this is obviously not a knock whatsoever, but I was taking notes in one of his clinic sessions, and he started talking about the number of drops he had out of the gun for the quarterback. And I don't remember off the top of my head without going back in the notes, but it was something of 5 or 6 drops that he was teaching to the quarterback. So just to take for drop back passing, whether it's quick game or 5-step, I suppose. And I started thinking, man, is that too many? And then at the end of the day, you have to really think about the number of plays you have in your game of practice, right? Or who you are as far as the run versus pass, talent, experience, under center versus gun, et cetera. And so going back to the R4 piece, that's probably not too much for him, right? If they're a heavy pass team, if they're a heavy gun team, that probably fits really well with their system. For us, when we are going to say that we're 50-50 run pass, when we say that at the end of the day, we've been 63% pass, 63% run and only 37% pass, I don't know that I can justify teaching 5 or 6 drops to our quarterbacks to deliver the ball downfield, whether it's to the perimeter in quick game or in 5-step. On top of that, like I said earlier, and this is part of my big stick, making sure that you don't have too much overage. There are a finite number of plays in your games or practices. And so how many drops are you truly going to teach? Because at the end of the day, you don't want your quarterbacks thinking about their drops when the bullets are flying. What you want your quarterbacks thinking about are read keys, progressions, where the hot is, what the snap count is, what the play clock is, what down it is. All that's really good. Thinking about if I'm taking a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, 3 and hitch, a 4 and hitch, a 2, whatever it may be, that's not what you want. So you got to make sure that you create some amount of muscle memory for these kids where it's just reactionary. When they take that snap, they know that on 60 Pro, they're taking XYZ drop. And so when you evaluate that, you do have to think about who you are going to be, run versus pass. If you're going to throw the ball 80% of the time, then hell, have as many drops as you want, right? If you're going to run the ball, if you're wing T, if you're triple option, if that's who you're going to be, then you need to have a finite number of drops. I think you got to evaluate what your talent level is, right? Who do you have back there? Is he capable of handling a bunch of drops? Do you need to limit his drops? The experience. I'll tell you right now, if you're starting a young quarterback, I would suggest cutting as many drops as possible. I would try to get him feeling as comfortable as he could in the pocket by, again, just limiting the footwork overage. And then I do think you got to talk about whether you're under center versus gun. And now I'm going to talk about why gun. So we are almost exclusively gun. And going back to the previous slide, what I feel like is when we go to the gun, we are immediately cutting 50% of the drops that I have to teach a quarterback. We're immediately, by limiting ourselves to the shotgun, we're immediately cutting the amount of run exchanges we have to do. And that probably cutting it by close to 50% there as well. There is a higher completion percentage from the gun versus under center. I can tell you right now that I've had the experience of coaching a lot of different quarterbacks, and they all feel, when I get them coming out of high school, they all feel more comfortable out of in gun. And then something you're going to hear me say a couple times today: don't build a bridge you don't need to. And this is, don't reinvent the wall. Don't reinvent the wall. Don't reinvent the wheel. Sorry. Don't build a bridge you don't need to. What I'm saying is that, bridges are in place across the country to get from point A to point B, right? And so if you can drive down the road and take a bridge and get to the spot you need to go to, why would you rebuild a bridge a mile down the road, right? And I think that there's something to be said about that, especially in quarterback coaching, that I get a guy that's had a quarterback coach for 5 years. He's been playing the position for 10, and he takes a drop a certain way. And I don't love that drop. But the timing is right. He gets the ball out. He's accurate. He's on balance. All those things are happening, even if it's not my specific drop, the specific thing that I know or that I love. If he is getting it done in the appropriate manner, then I'm not going to build a new bridge. Now, in the same sentence, if he's doing it some wonky way or some way that does not fit our system, he's not getting it out on time, he's not on balance, something of that nature, then hell, we're going to build a new bridge. And that goes for a lot of different technique things for pieces of technique for the quarterback. So that's why we choose to do gun. And, we've had extensive conversations over the course of the last 2 years since I've been at Whitewater about, should we do more under center? Should we go under center? Traditionally there's been a decent amount of the play calls that have come from under center or Whitewater. And at the end of the day, that's a huge chunk of teaching that I don't have to worry about. And it's not because I'm not lazy, but I don't have to expect that quarterback to know those different drops, know those different exchanges. And I think that's huge at the end of the day. So our base drops, if we're staying in the pocket, we're going to teach a quick game drop. We're going to teach a rhythm drop. We're going to teach a 5-step drop. We have a drop back play action, and that's all from in the pocket. Our movement drops, we're going to be looking at hitch naked, half roll, and then boot. And I'm not going to get to all of these different drops, but I will be getting to our quick game, our rhythm, and our 5-step drops. So before I go any further, this is something that came up in a Zoom meeting for our staff last week. And I think that it's the way it's said or the way it was put to me really resonated. And this is something I take pride in, but I hadn't put it to words like this. But game film is your thesis. And at the end of the day, you must be able to defend your drill work by being able to show why you're using it or why you're working it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever you're working it, based off of what the game film actually shows. Because if you're working a bunch of drills that don't translate to a game or that don't show up on a game, you are wasting time in practice. And again, you have a finite amount of practice time. You're not going to see, there's a time and a place to run over bags, and I get that, but you're not going to see our quarterbacks doing a bunch of high knees through bags, because I can work on drops instead of that. Because very rarely do I ever see a quarterback pushing up in the pocket, climbing the pocket, getting to the edge, doing high knees over top of people, right? That's not happening. So I can use that time to work a progression, a read key drill, a drop, whatever it may be. So again, I really want to stress and emphasize that game film is your thesis. So you must be able to defend your drill work in that manner. So to start, we're going to talk quick game. And this is, when I was coming up through the ranks as a player, one of the things that we would do during routes on air is there'd be a count, there'd be a cadence. We were almost exclusively under center when I was a player, and so there's a count. So you'd hear our head coach, Coach Keen, who was an offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach at Illinois College. He would say 1, 2, 3, ball. 1, 2, 3, ball. 1, 2, 3, ball. And who the heck rings the doorbell? Aren't we social distancing? I got my dog barking in the background. I'm sorry. Hopefully somebody's going to get that door. I don't know who would be here. But again, the snap counts as 2 steps. So if we're under center, your 3-step drop, it would be 1, 2, 3, ball. And that meant ball is out. Well, when we go from gun, we are going to say that snap counts as 2 steps. So at the end of the day, we're going to pick the foot up. The quarterback's going to pick his foot up, put it down. That's 3, and then the ball should be out. So I can use that same rhythmic cadence when I'm coaching these kids from the gun, that it goes 1, 2, 3, ball. 1, 2, 3, ball. Again, the snap counts as 2. We're going to take a punch step if this is a natural feel for the quarterback. Now, I used to be anti-punch step, anti-punch step, anti-punch step. We need to get this ball out as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, go down to the bottom of of this slide on that last bullet point. Don't build a bridge that you don't need to. Some of these kids have had so much tutelage, have had so many reps taking a punch step. If the timing is right, if the throwing shoulder gets over the trail leg, and if our quarterback is on balance, I am fine with the punch step. And that's something that I have shifted to over the course of the last few years, because again, why am I going to beat my head against the wall trying to change something that's been ingrained in these young men's head for a number of years? You need to make sure you have an open lead shoulder. No matter if you're throwing left or right, you need to make sure that lead shoulder is open. You need to be able to clear your trail hip through. And I want that ball to be out in about 1.5 seconds. And again, at the end of the day, don't build a bridge that you don't need to. Are there any questions? Are we good to keep moving here, Coach? I'm going to slide into some film.
Yes, sir. There was a question in regards to certain drills and stuff, but I figured you probably would get into that.
Yes, absolutely. We can talk about that. If I don't answer that, let's bring that up towards the end.
Yes, sir.
All right. So right here, now you're going to see 2 different quarterbacks for us. We had a starter that started all of our regular season games, got beat up, dinged up pretty good. And so he actually ended up getting replaced for our playoff run. And so you are going to see some not drastic differences, but you are going to see some different techniques being used by these quarterbacks. But I think that a lot of the teaching points are going to be the same. Okay. All right. So right here, you're going to see our quarterback, Max Myler. He's going to take his punch step. As he takes that punch step, he's getting his trail leg or his trail shoulder, his throwing shoulder over his trail leg. And that's really important. If we time this thing out, punch step, come to balance, trail leg, under throwing shoulder, snap. Snap's happening at 3.46. Ball's out by 5.06, maybe a little late there. We're right at 1.5. Now, we do not do a great job at the running back position picking up this defensive end, and I'm not really here to talk about pass pro, but we can, absolutely. I don't know why we're not cutting. I don't know if he's expecting that defensive end to make contact with the tackle. He doesn't want to get a high-low. But because this ball's out in 1.5, we are able to get this. We are able to throw this without taking a hit, right? This defensive end basically ends up in our lap, but we are able to get this ball out. Now, again, as I look at this, I'm looking at the trail shoulder or trail leg is under his throwing shoulder. He's able to clear his trail hip through, even though there's pressure right in his face, right? So at the end of the day, this is really, really pretty good. And again, it's out so quickly that we are able to get yards after the catch because that safety rolling down cannot rally quick enough. So this is the same kid. Early in the season. So that was in the national championship game. This is week 1. You guys want to know why I don't like check with me systems? Because I hate watching film with check with me systems. It drives me insane. I hate watching the quarterback walk away from the center, try to get a new play. Oh, it drives me insane. And we do it way too often. See a little bit bigger punch step. See a little bit bigger punch step right there. Not bad. The timing is really pretty good. If you look at it from snap to, we got snap at 15.39. Ball is out at 16.87, so we're right under 1.5. Able to get the ball in the receiver's hands in plenty of time for him to get yards after the catch, which is obviously key on quick game passes. One thing that I really want to note to you guys is that when you are throwing left or throwing to your offhand, you have to make sure that you have a wider step or a more open step with that lead foot. This kid has, I think, traditionally pretty good mechanics, but watch what he does right there. He's rotating around his left foot. His transfer of power is not going directly at his target. His transfer of power is actually in a rotational plane, right? So he's dispersing his power, right, in a circular motion as opposed to directly at his target. He's not getting nearly as much zip on the ball as he possibly could, and it's all because of his foot placement here. See it from the tight here. Again, walking away from the center. Oh my God, drives me insane. Like, what happens? And like, if you're not coaching it, you're allowing it, right? Or if it shows up on film, coach talk, right? If it shows up on film, you're allowing it. Whatever you want to say. I swear I do not allow this. I do not understand why we're walking away from this. What happens if the ball gets snapped, right? I mean, am I crazy? Like, come on. So obviously a point of emphasis is next year because I've watched too much film of us doing that. So right here, you see how he's going to rotate around his left foot. It's tough to see from that angle. I think we can see it from the other type. The other piece I want to show you is that we need to make sure that our jaw, hips, and knee are in line as we release that ball. And so what we're seeing right here is he's a little closed off, probably overstriding is what's causing that. Probably overstriding is causing that. So that lead foot placement is not great. But at the end of the day, if you look at the timing of it, and if you look at his trail leg under his throwing shoulder, boom, that's beautiful right there. Absolutely beautiful. And that ball's out and it is on target. All right, so this is the kid that started for us for majority of the season. you can see that his 3-step drop is much more similar to the way I would do it. I was not a punch step guy. I don't love the punch step. I like catch and release, catch and release, catch. And I said catch, grip, rip. But right here, you see him come to balance and get that ball out. Now they're bringing 6. Platteville's bringing 6 right here, and because of the timing of this throw, we can leave an unblocked rusher off the edge, right? Be gap sound inside, and we can still get this ball out for 6. As you watch Zach's footwork here, watch him you see his trail leg is underneath his throwing shoulder. He gets hit, so he's not fully able to rotate his trail hip through, but he is, it's a short throw, so he's able to get plenty of velocity on it. But that ball is out. I mean, this is pretty right here. Timing-wise and everything, right? 3.23, 4.7, 4.78 right there.
Coach, from Coach Schiffman, he said, you seem to have really well-coached tight ends. How do you plan on getting them more involved in the game plan next season?
It's not even a tight end on the goddamn field right now, gentlemen. How much did he get paid to ask that question?
He said no comment.
All right, again, you can see him come square. But at the end of the day, and I'm going to show a couple more clips, like I said, there are multiple ways to skin a cat, right? And Max was taught differently in high school and junior high at his previous college before he transferred into Whitewater than Zach was, right? And so why am I going to beat my head in the wall? As long as that timing stays right at 1.5 seconds, we're still getting the ball out accurately. Now, does that mean that we need to that we have to make sure we're on balance? 100%, right? There are keys. There are non-negotiables. Lead foot, bringing your hip through, getting your throwing shoulder over your trail leg. All those are non-negotiables. But if you're taking a punch step, that at the end of the day is not a huge worry of mine any longer. Right here, we throw 3-step. When we throw a quick game, we tell our quarterbacks that your pre-snap perception is different than your post-snap reality, but we are doing everything based off of safety rotation on the snap. So if we decide to go right, we are not re-checking to the left. And so you have to live with that decision, throw the ball away, or go escape and make something happen, right? So what you see right here by Zach is he is oversetting to our X receiver down here at the bottom of the screen, oversetting, expecting to hit this in cut right here, right? That's what he's expecting. That doesn't come open because of a hard buzz. So because Zach stays balanced and stays loaded, he is able to hit the slot in the second window for a big third down in a really big game against La Crosse this past season. Now, one thing I would like to see him do is not guess. He's already cutting the field in half because of the protection, because of the scheme. So don't cut it into a quarter by overcommitting to your X receiver here. He needs to stay open enough that he can drive the ball to either receiver without double crossing. Anybody that's big into golf knows what I'm talking about with a double cross, where you bring the club back too far and then bring it back too flat and then bring it back over the top on the double cross. It looks like an X. That's basically what Zach's doing. His shoulders are not in sync with his hips, which if we were making a throw any deeper than this would be an issue. Also, I think that our timing's a little off. I like that he's going second window, but I think we can get that ball off a little earlier. One thing that he is able to do right here, which is really pretty crazy, is he's able to correct using just forcing his trail hip or his right hip through, which allows him to not over-rotate and does put some zip on this ball across the middle. All right, right here from Max, I wanted to show a couple good clips, couple bad clips. Right here, this is way too big of a punch step. Now, you could say that he feels this pressure, but there's no way he feels this pressure. Also, this D tackle from St. Xavier, he's a sophomore. We got to play against him next year, and that is going to be absolutely miserable. He was the quickest off the ball I've ever coached against. He was so quick that I ended up calling up their DC on Monday of that next week and asking if we were giving away our snap count in any way, shape, or form. They said, no, that's just who that kid is. Well, that's too bad. Good for them, not good for their opponents. But if you watch Max here, he's taking way too large of a punch step. This ball, we're throwing a quick flat throw, and I still think it's too late. We're also fading away, and I don't think he's fading away from contact. I think he can drive through this. I just think that's just a poor rep right there. We put the ball on the ground. Here's another example of just not a great rep. We do flash our 90s or our 3-step quick game stuff. It can cause a problem at times, but it does also hold linebackers pretty well. And again, you can see this defensive end is expecting to get cut, slows him down really pretty well. The problem is I think we're late getting this ball out because of our footwork. We shouldn't be poking necessarily, because when I say flash, that running back's going to show arms. Quarterback shouldn't be poking in 90s or in our 3-step. We should just be letting him flash in front of us and delivering this ball. But I think we are late. And if you look at the timing, we are late. He's traditionally taking a punch step, and right here, all he does is open. It's like he's trying to ride play action, and that's absolutely wrong. He should be just, if his traditional 3-step, if the way he takes 3-step is utilizing a punch step, then that's, by golly, that's what he has to do 100% of the time. You can't go rogue. Now we do get this ball off, but we almost allow a linebacker who is zeroed up or mic'd up to make a play on a slant, and that is a problem. Questions on any of that? Nope. All right, good. All right, so
now we're good, Coach.
Awesome. Now what I'd like to talk about is our rhythm drop. And this is something that I have, I don't want to say I've developed. I'm sure other people do something of this nature, but this is something that I've really put into play in our offensive system over the course of the last 2 years. And this goes into the theory that the don't build a bridge that you don't need to theory. Everybody teaches some type of 5-step, right? That's gonna happen. People learn differently. Whether you're going to a quarterback coach, whether you're a high school coach, whether it's your older brother, whatever it is, you're being taught a 5-step drop. Well, we're gonna hold you to that 5-step drop, and we'll talk about that shortly. But every day that a quarterback goes out, he's going to warm up. He's going to play catch, and everyone has a natural way that they play catch. And that's what I tried to channel with this rhythm drop theory, or this rhythm drop technique. And so again, snap counts as two steps still. And what I want you to do is I want you to think rhythm, dribble, and basketball, right? So as a quarterback, you're catching the snap, right? You catch the snap, and then you're expected to drop and do your thing, right? Make your read, make the throw touchdowns, marry the prom queen, all that great stuff, right? But what happens if the ball's here? What happens if the ball's here? What happens if the ball's low somewhere where you have to turn your hands over? Well, you're naturally out of rhythm, right? In basketball, if anybody played basketball, if you didn't, then I'm sorry, basketball's a great sport. But anybody in basketball knows that if you catch a ball on the back shoulder and you're trying to shoot a mid-range jump shot or shoot a 3-pointer, you catch that ball, immediately you put it on the ground for a rhythm dribble to get that thing up, right? That's what you do. If you go to the free throw line, you catch the ball from the official, you take your 2 dribbles, you do your thing, you shoot. And that's what I'm, again, trying to channel with this drop. So this is going to be really unique to each quarterback. And one thing you can do to sort of check on whether or not they are doing their rhythm drop is how do they play catch? When you just roll the balls out there for these guys to go and throw in pre-practice, in pre-game warm-up, whatever it is, what are their first few steps? How do they get loose? And that's going to tell you a lot about what their rhythm drop should look like, right? The key to the rhythm drop is no different than the 3-step. If you're going to give them the freedom to do a pop step, right, then that's what they have to do every time, if that's the technique they choose. You can't go back and forth. And then it's the same thing in a rhythm drop. Now, it can be a little unique because, again, if a snap is to the left, that's going to naturally take you off a midpoint. That's going to naturally affect your timing. So you may have to slightly adjust that rhythm drop. But at the end of the day, if you're slide step shuffle rip, that's who you are. At the end of the day, if you're a mini 3 underneath, that's what you've got to do on your rhythm drop. And you need to hold them to it because otherwise timing does get off. We're going to talk about rhythm drops, our rhythm drops. If we're throwing our rhythm throw, is going to be out in 1.6 to 2.0 seconds. And this is going to be dependent on your route or concept. And then again, don't build a bridge that you don't need to. What I used to say is that everybody was doing a mini three, a three-step underneath themselves. It was bop, 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 ball out. And the quarterbacks used to call it the bop, bop, bop drill. Bop, 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 ball out. Bop, 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 ball out. What I found is that I was just, again, beating my head against the wall, trying to train guys to do my drop my way. And I've given them next to 0% of reps that they've ever taken over the course of their life, right? Because we're a Division III program. Hell, we're not even having spring ball this year, but if we did, we only get them for 16 days, right? Plus the season, we get no contact over the summer. So it's not like I have all this extracurricular time with these kids to help train them to do the drops I want. So I got to find a way to make sure the drops that they feel comfortable with fit our system, fit our timing, and we're gonna move forward with that. So what do the rhythm drops look like? They're gonna be very unique to each quarterback. So this is Max right here. And you're going to see what Max does is he's sort of a slide, step, shuffle, choke, and go. And when he is on rhythm, this is what he looks like. Slide, step, shuffle, choke, and go. This is a great clip because I think we got some tough as nails quarterbacks in our program, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, we're not great up front, sort of blowing an assignment there, but he stands this thing down and delivers the ball. I talk to our quarterbacks about throwing into a glass wall, and I'll show you guys an example of this later. And that's sort of like when you throw into a stiff front leg, and it looks like this, right? You're throwing it, and all of a sudden you're just popping back off, right? And Max has pressure in his face, and he finishes this throw with his trail hip into this rushing linebacker, right? And that's really, really good. I think that shows his toughness. I think it shows his intestinal fortitude. I think it just shows the type of competitor he is. We talked about getting your jaw, hip, and knee all in line. This is pretty darn good right there. Ball's released. We are in line. We are transitioning our weight even though we're getting hit. Again, consistency in this rhythm drop is key. Slide, step, shuffle, choke, and go. Stays on the midpoint here. Does a great job there. May be able to open a little bit more with his left foot as you look at the rotation of his hips. But that overall, again, with somebody in his face, is pretty damn good. Again, walking over the sideline, stay behind center. I would say that this is a little bit large of a first step. Our rhythm drop is not supposed to be a full three, but you can still see it's a slide, step, shuffle, choke, and throw. Slide, step, shuffle, choke, and throw. Now, he is trying to get some depth here because of where we're at in the game. It is fourth down. He's expecting to get dialed up right here against a really good St. Xavier team. So I appreciate him trying to get away from center. But the ball is out on time. When we go to talk about that, right? We said that we had 1.6 to 2 seconds. So as my huddle remote's not working here. Sorry. So as we go to look at that, we got 10.98 or 11 seconds. We're going to have the ball out at 13.0. So we're really close right there. And it's a good throw, good catch at the end of the day, throwing one-on-one. Right here, throwing into a glass wall. But as we go to change the flight path of the ball, our shoulder angle is going to change slightly, and our release will actually change slightly. As a quarterback, you really want to try to stay on your thigh on that follow through as much as possible. Some people will say inside, some people will say outside. You don't want to throw across your body, but as you go to throw to change your shoulder angle, and I'm sure Coach, I saw you had Coach Dapolito on. I'm sure he talked about this at some point. But as you go to change that shoulder angle, you are naturally going to follow through more across your body, but you still want to bring that trail hip. If you leave that arm up or out, that nose of the ball is going to stay up. That creates a flutter ball. It's more affected by the wind, doesn't cut through the air, and does not get to its target in a timely fashion. So we want to make sure we're still bringing that trail leg. All right, you see the little poke fake, slide step shuffle, choke and throw. This is Max's rhythm drop. I know I can watch Max's drop from the sideline and know if this is going to be a completion or not. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. Because when he's in rhythm, he's really good. And that's the case with most of your quarterbacks. Quarterbacks throw more now than they've ever thrown before. These kids come out as freshmen, or I see them as freshmen, making throws that I couldn't have even dreamed of making until I was a senior. And I was an okay quarterback. I'm not great, but I was okay. Right? And these kids come in as 17, 18-year-old wet behind the ear kids, able to make throws that I'm like, wow, because they're on rhythm. If you can keep your quarterbacks on rhythm, if you can keep them on balance, right, you can have a really successful season. And so that's why I watch Max's feet. I know if this is if we're going to have a completion or not. He throws into a glass wall right here. This is a perfect example, right? Look at his lean right there. Can everybody see that, right? His lean is back. That's a bad angle. We're not effectively transitioning weight, but he throws from a natural base. He throws on rhythm and he throws on time, and it's a completion. So can this be better? Absolutely. But the drop itself is consistent, and he feels comfortable. Comfortable quarterbacks will win you a lot of games. All right, right here, we don't do great up front. At the right tackle, we're leaving our drag hand out too long. It's fine. I mean, he's trying to help out, he probably needs to be a little bit quicker, kick for a little bit more width. But fact of the matter is we're throwing to our single receiver here. We're taking an appropriate drop. The ball is out on time, and we're able to complete this ball for a touchdown. And again, I talk about tough quarterbacks here, right? Look at this kid. You see it, stares this thing down and just delivers an absolute dart. Great catch by the ex receiver as well. But you can see it right here. Slide step shuffle, choke, ball out, boom. Getting hit. He is still attempting to transition his weight, even as he gets taken to the ground with a diamond cutter. Any Diamond Dallas Page fans out there? Surprised Schiffman hasn't chimed in about that one. I think he's All right, so here I'm going to try to show you a bad one or two, one that we don't love quite as much. We talk about slide step shuffle for Max, right? This is damn near a crossover right here. That's not what he does. Not on his rhythm drop. So what happens here? This ball is delayed. Now it's a completion, don't get me wrong, but if this ball is out right now when it should be, we have a chance for yards after the catch. Look at the separation between the corner and our X receiver. This is on 3rd and 13. We throw this ball, we deliver it on time. We're hitting this crease right here for at least a first down, right? But because we almost cross over, because we're trying to be too perfect, we allow this corner to rally, safety to show up, and now we're tackled, and it's 4th and 1, and we're in the national title game, and we got to go for it on 4th and 1 on their 39. Now, luckily, we got it. One of the few things that went right for us in the first half. But that's neither here nor there. That's a topic for another day. But you can see the delayed throw, the different drop. The different drop, the inconsistency in Max's rhythm drop delays the throw. And now instead of a first down, we're on 4th and 1. He is loaded well. Like the alignment, pretty good. All right, so this is a completely different drop for Max right here. And I don't know if this, I talk about with snap, the snap is going to affect what a quarterback feels like, what he feels like his rhythm is. He's also flashing here, poking, giving a hard, not hard, but a relatively hard ball fake for what we want in this scenario. So that delays him ever so slightly. But he slide step shuffles. He gives no choke, and he throws off his plan. Which, again, if that's who he is, if that's what he does, I'm fine with it. But I've just shown you 5 or 6 clips that is not what Max does. That's not who he is as a quarterback. That is not his rhythm drop. So at the end of the day, great job, completion, first down. You're wrong. You're wrong, right? The only time you're never wrong for being wrong is when you score a touchdown. So if Derek had broke this tackle and ran for 60, then, hey, great job, Max. But he didn't score a touchdown, so he's wrong. I don't love getting off the midpoint right here, especially because we're working it towards the man side. I know it's where he's going, but we probably need to be working down the midpoint right here. Don't shorten the edge to the man side of the slide. All right, so here's Zach, and we're going to talk about Zach's rhythm drops here. I got to speed up a little bit so I can get to the 5-step stuff. But
Coach, question for you.
Yep.
Will you work any drills specifically to work the quarterback getting down the midpoint?
Yeah, we'll work the traditional take drops down the line. Like basically every drop drill we do is with us straddling a yard line. So, just for all intents and purposes, right, a foot here, right? And we just call it multi-line drops, foot here, foot here, foot here, foot here. Those are the quarterbacks, right? And I'm right here. Okay, and I'll be calling out whatever drop they need to take. So they'll partner up sometimes. Sometimes they just simulate the snap, and I say rhythm left. They'll take the rhythm, simulate a throw left. Or I'll say half roll right, and they'll simulate the snap, and they'll take their 3-step setup to the right. But we're always straddling a midpoint so that we can talk about or straddling a line so that we can talk about where you're supposed to be moving, how far off that midpoint you should be, whether it's play action, half roll, 5-step, things of that nature. Does that help?
Yeah. One more question here, Coach. How do you facilitate representative design into practice to encourage your quarterback stay true to their rhythm drop?
So we do a drill called the pop drill, and that's really important to us. And for me, that is just simulating a read progression for the quarterback. And if they are to take if they are attacking their rhythm drop throw, then I expect them to be utilizing that rhythm drop. And we're going to use some type of stimulus, whether it's a guy flashing his hands or a dummy quarterback running back and forth, giving him read keys, whatever it may be. But that's sort of how we are going to force feed this drop to them with not live bullets, but some live stimulus. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, so you're going to see Zach. Zach has a much different drop. He is a full 3-step. Sometimes he gets too long in his 3-step. Sometimes he almost gets lazy with that drive step. It should be bop, 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 right? If you are going to take a 3, it needs to be a quick 3, especially if you're not going to throw off your plant step. So he's going to take a 3, he's going to choke, and he's going to throw back shoulder. And you can see Zach right here does a pretty good job of transitioning through his hips. Even though he doesn't fully plant that trail leg right here, you're going to see that he does get the power. He generates the power because of the rotation of those hips, right? He brings that trail leg through. And again, maybe it doesn't get all the way through, but you can see the violent action of that backside hip. Boom. Again, I want to make sure if I'm going too fast, guys, I'm sorry, but I got to stay within an hour, right, Coach?
No, Coach, you got time.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
You got time.
Cool. Don't want to screw up your schedule.
No, you're good. Next one's not until 5.
Shoot, guys, buckle up.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
My wife will kill me if I sit on here till 5 and then go to another Zoom meeting. But, well, if I don't show up, somebody call the cops. So right here, Zach's a little late, but again, you'll see the same drop. This is his rhythm drop. He's a 3, he's a choke, and he's a rip. Really pretty good alignment right there. Maybe his hips are a little bit behind his knee, but he is driving that thing through, and he is bringing his trail hip. Now, what you're going to see from Zach here as we go on, he got dinged up early on, suffered a throwing shoulder injury, toughed it out. I mean, he's a tough as nails kid. But but you're going to see him start to compensate in some of this film for diminished arm strength, and I think a little bit of shoulder pain, even though he wouldn't admit to any of that. So right here, he does a decent job staying on the midpoint. At the very least, he is working to the slide, right? Our back does need to get out a little quicker here. But you can see a violent trail hip here, which really helps velocity on this football. Boom. Love it. Compact, quick, really good throw. Same thing, we're still watching Zach on his rhythm throw. Or rhythm drop, sorry. All right, so this is a way too long of a drop. It's a lazy first step, and look at the depth he's gaining. He's punch step. He's giving a left punch step. He's gaining a full 1.5 yards on his first step and then getting the ball out, right? We're delayed. We're late. We give the corner an opportunity to drive on the ball, and we give our receiver no opportunity to stay in bounds and get any yards after the catch, which is an issue, right? That is not supposed to be a 3-step drop if we are throwing to that side. If we know we are going to our X receiver in this scheme, we need to be getting this ball out early. We need to, if we're going to do a 3-step and choke, great. 3-step choke, ball out. It's got to be violent, right? So Zach is wrong right here. Even though it's a completion, he's wrong. It's not consistent with what his rhythm drop is. All right, so here we're going to see Zach does two things. One, does not open enough. Two, he is spinning like a top on this release. Well, why is he spinning like a top? Because he is for two reasons. One, he's spinning over his left leg because he's throwing left. Two, he is trying to protect his shoulder. Again, I talked to you about shoulder issues. And this is a really easy way, I think, for you to identify if somebody is having shoulder issues. He's trying to throw as hard as he can. He's trying to overcompensate for shoulder weakness and soreness by over-rotating his trail hip. He's trying to generate too much power with that trail hip, which is causing – he's not actually pushing the force directly at his target. He's sending it, again, in a circular plane, if you will, right? A rotational plane. And you can see it a little bit better from the tight. Boom, you see that? He is rotating around his left foot. And I would say that he probably, at the end of the day, is open enough to throw this out route. He probably, if he felt confident in his throwing shoulder, would not be worried about rotating or spinning like this because his footwork is probably okay. Maybe an overstride. He's not in line by any means. But again, I wanted to show this because I think this is a really easy way for you as quarterbacks coaches or coaches to see if a quarterback is having some type of shoulder or throwing arm issue. He's trying to protect it by generating so much power from his hips so his shoulder isn't compensated or doesn't have to compensate quite as much. So instead of hitching, we hold here. Don't love this. That's not his drop. We do throw a touchdown, so hey, by all means, I can't say he's wrong. I mean, that is our rule in the quarterback room. Touchdowns, you're always right. But I don't love it, right? It's different. It's not his consistent drop. Timing's not horrible. He is on balance. He is in line. At the end of the day, it's pretty good, but it's not his consistent drop. He's got to take his rhythm drop. And that's not a bad snap. He's not compensating for a high left snap, low right snap, whatever it may be.
Got a question, Coach.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the quarterback stance prior to the snap to be square or staggered, and why? Are there benefits to each?
Yeah, that's a question that I've gone back and forth on a lot. It goes back to, what does a quarterback feel comfortable? The last thing feel comfortable doing. I will give suggestions, but at the end of the day, I want you to be comfortable and I want it to be consistent. And if it's those two things, I don't really worry about it too much. I like it to be somewhat. It needs to be shoulder width apart. It needs to be a good power stance, right? It needs to be an athletic stance, but comfortable and consistent, because the last thing I want a quarterback doing is walking up to the line of scrimmage and being like, oh, yeah, Coach Jennings wants my left big toe to intersect the sole of my right shoe. And now all of a sudden we take a delay a game or forget our progression or whatever it may be. So I think that for schematically, we can get away with it, get away with square or staggered. And so at the end of the day, I don't mind too much one way or another. All right, got Zach here again. All right, I'm showing this right here because this should be a rhythm drop, but look where this snap is. So what he does is he just gets to rhythm. He compensates, auto corrects right here, and still gets the ball out on time, 2.2 or 20.28, 22.02. So he's well within his range, the timing of this throw range, right? And that's not a drop we've seen from him on any of these clips. We haven't seen that drop from any of our quarterbacks on these clips, right? But at the end of the day, a low left at the knee snap, you have to compensate or autocorrect in some way, shape, or form. And so for me to say, no, I got to have this cookie cutter drop, I think I'm setting the quarterback up for failure. I'm setting our team up for failure, right? So like I said earlier, a comfortable quarterback's going to complete a lot of balls. A comfortable quarterback's going to win you a lot of games. So you've got to teach them how to autocorrect. So we will work bad snap drill. We will, and we don't just work it for 3-step, 5-step rhythm drops, whatever it may be. We work bad snap drill for all the different drops we could do so that our quarterbacks have that internal timer going and know, hey, this is how I have to get back to balance. This is how quickly I got to get this ball out. Because again, we haven't seen this drop, but look, Zach ends up getting his throwing shoulder over his trail leg. He's on balance. Check with me, golly. Oh, and he's still on there. Make sure that we don't do any more check with me's next year. He comes to balance. He's in line and throws a really good ball, right? He gets that ball out. We get a couple yards after the catch, almost break the tackle and squirt one. So that's really pretty good. I wanted to show that. And then this last clip of the rhythm drop stuff, I believe it's this one. I just want to show that we do allow guys to shorten the whole drop if they want. Like Max's drop is a slide step shuffle, choke and throw. Right here, he just does a slide step shuffle and gets this ball out because we're running a smash concept. He knows he's going to the hitch. Just get the ball out early. And so he is in his head changing the drop right there. And we work that as well. That's something that we try to work to just so our guys feel comfortable speeding that drop up, get the hitch out, let our guys go try to get yards after the catch. All right, any questions on that?
Good right now, Coach.
Awesome. All right. So our 5-step drop. Snap counts as 2 steps. We're going to say this is a 3-step drop from gun with a hitch. This is a pretty standard drop for all quarterbacks. Now there are different nuances that each kid puts to it. Somebody may take a punch step to start their 3. Somebody's hitch may be a little bit bigger than the others. But at the end of the day, I want this to be more standard than definitely than their rhythm drop. But you got to take into account if there's a bad snap, if the timing's off for some reason, there are going to be some auto corrections that you've got to be willing to give them the freedom to make. You're going to reset with a purpose. What I mean by that is, I try to teach quiet feet. That's something that I don't want to say it's a non-negotiable, but I really do try to break people's habits of the Peyton Manning quick feet. I think wasted movement or extra movement can be wasted movement in just about everything we do. I've heard all the reasonings behind it, and I think there's positives to it. But for me, I do like quiet feet. So as we reset from, so let's just say we're reading wide cross, we're reading the deep to the shallow to the cross. We're resetting with a purpose. So we're reading deep, our go route or our post, eyes there, boom. That's not there. Two safeties or safeties over the top, corners over the top. We snap our eyes right now into the flat. And when we're resetting with a purpose, as we snap our eyes to the flat, we know if we're open, we're ready to throw right now. We're not resetting to reset to throw. So post, flat route, we reset, throw it. Or post, flat route, we reset, the flat route's not there. Now we're resetting with a purpose to the wide cross and delivering the ball on time. So when applicable, we are resetting with a purpose. We want this ball to be out in 2.0 to 3.0 seconds, depending on the route and concepts. And again, don't build a bridge that you don't need to. If a kid has a funky hitch, has something just a little wonky that you don't love, if he's still getting that ball out on time and he's efficient and he's coming to balance and he's bringing his trail hip and doing all the things we talked about in line, then by all means, you don't need to build a bridge 2 miles down the road just because that's how you see something, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of different clips of both of our quarterbacks that saw significant time this past year. Right here, you're going to see Max check his X on the Indy route, check the cross, slide step away from the rush, and deliver the ball. Now he gets to his third read in this progression, and this is a sack if he doesn't reset with a purpose. If he resets just to reset, we're taking one on the chin right here. And instead of a touchdown or a 30-yard gain or whatever it is, we're now 4th and 1,000,000 from the 40-yard line. This is a hell of a throw, hell of a catch. I'm not taking not taking away from those things, but the throw itself happens because he resets with a purpose. The other piece I want to show you guys right here is, you've got to have quarterbacks that are capable of throwing off platform, right? That can find a way to get their hips and shoulders in line, even when things aren't going great, right? So right here, Max slide step shuffles away, right? He is working away, but look how in line he is. Look where his shoulders are. Look where his hips are right there, right? He's fading away, but he is not fading away on this throw. So he's fading away from pressure, but finding a way to keep his hips and shoulders level so he can deliver an absolute strike of a ball on that vertical. Okay, I don't want to, this is not the right read here by Zach. He should be seeing himself hot and taking the out route to the boundary, but that's not what I want to talk about. He gets confused here. He thinks he sees something. We're a progression read team that develops into a read key team, is the way I do our install. And so he sees something that says, I got one-on-one with this linebacker. And so he is resetting with a purpose. And again, they're bringing 2 off an edge, and we're running 5-step, and they're bringing 2 to our back or 2 to the man side. So we are hot technically, but because he resets with the purpose, we're able to get this ball off. And if this was man free, this is a good decision. Unfortunately, it's not. But again, I'm not talking about the decision as much as I am talking about the technique. You reset with a purpose, you get the ball out on time. He's also sliding away from pressure. But now watch as he does what I've been talking about. He's going to protect his shoulder and over rotate. He's going to try to bring his trail hip through too much so that he can try to compensate for a little bit of shoulder pain, a little bit of shoulder fatigue, right? You can see that right here. He is open plenty. He's throwing this ball down the hash. He is in line. His left leg or left foot is open, but he's bringing that trail hip far too far. He's bringing it far too far around, which again is dispersing that energy or that power through basically a horizontal or not the horizontal plane, but through a rotational plane, if you will. Another example is Zach resetting with a purpose. Recognize he has man free, likes the read post on the backside, so he is going to reset, deliver this ball after the resetting with a purpose. Pulls a safety, delivers that ball. That ball is out in the exact window of time, right? We started at 4.7. 1, 2, 3, reset with the purpose, and ball is out in 7.05. So we are in really good shape there. Could have hit the corner, absolutely. Again, I'm not talking about the reads right now as much as I'm talking about what the technique is. We're not just resetting to reset, because right now, if we were to take this drop, reset to the read post, and then reset again, A, we might be getting hit by this defensive end. B, we're giving this safety time to get off the hash and come play our read post that's creasing him right down the middle. One, two, three. We start to climb the pocket on our reset, which I don't mind. Takes his 3-step drop. He resets. He is resetting to the flat route right here, and then resets with the purpose as he climbs to deliver this ball to the in cut. See if we have a better view of it right here. Resets to the flat, climbs the pocket. As he climbs the pocket, he has reset his eyes to that in cut. It will get a nice completion. Resetting with a purpose, not just resetting to reset. Now there is a time and a place. I want to show this. You can't just blindly reset, right? That's like, as you go through your progression, you can't go X, H, Y, blindly throw the Z. And sometimes you do have to wait for somebody to come open. Now, what I want to talk about right here is how Max stays loaded. Now, is he climbing maybe too far? Maybe. He probably can be, we talk about if you're in the pocket, you got to be able to work with the in a phone booth. You're working within a phone booth. Small steps, trail leg leading, always ready to throw at any moment. So right here, as Max is climbing, he probably is pushing too far up in the pocket, but at the end of the day, he's checked his X, he's checked his Y, and now he's waiting for that post to come open, that inside post, and he sees that safety with closed hips, square hips to the line of scrimmage. He knows we can win vertically, puts that thing over his head. We make another great catch and get a great call by that official. Great call, sir. Thank you. And for a touchdown. So that's a big throw and catch right there. But again, I don't want people to think we just blindly reset and throw. You do sometimes have to wait for somebody to come open. The key to that is stay loaded. If you start to shift your weight from your trail leg to your lead leg, you are physiologically wired to at least pump fake or throw the ball when you are not ready to throw the ball. So we got to stay loaded on that trail leg. Another example, resetting with a purpose. Check the X, check the flat, reset to the Z. We're checking X, checking flat, reset to the Z. Would like to see that ball maybe out just a little earlier off this guy's ear. And the reason I have this clip on here is I want you to see what Max's feet look like. Max is a quick feet guy, or was when he got here. He transferred in for he was a redshirt junior, and this is his first year with us. So he's had a lot of coaching, whether it's at the junior high level, peewee level, coach at college level, high school level. So it's tough to break him of that habit, but you can see where his quick feet right here actually probably delays this throw. And so we try to quiet his feet, and that's what I say. You quiet your feet, quiet it. We don't need chatter. Quiet the feet. And so it's always a continual work in progress with him, as it is with all of our guys. So that's what I got right there, guys. I hope that was helpful. I'd love to answer any questions you guys might have.
Absolutely, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. I know there was one, let me get to it, earlier in regards to, it was kind of off topic of the QB play, but just in regards to your offensive system. But with the receivers, the slots, you notice had an open stance. Is that for quick game timing, crossing routes, jets?
Open stance. Yeah, so they're going to have, our slot receivers are going to have their inside leg back. And we do that because those slot receivers are going to be digging out apex defenders a lot. And if their inside leg is back, right? If the ball's in here, if you can see me, if they're inside, I should look at the camera. Sorry. Their inside leg is back, right? Their first step can be inside to that apex defender. The other piece that happens is that if that inside leg is back, if we throw a bubble, and we throw a lot of bubble, that first step can be a bucket step, and we can now open, crossover, and run, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Open, crossover, run, right? And so that it's twofold for us. It does affect some of our time, or it has affected our steps on our quick game, and we have had to adjust that since we made that move. But it has been really good for us. We expect our slots to be pretty formidable run blockers.
When did you guys actually make that move?
Probably 5 years ago.
I gotcha. Definitely helps on crossing routes too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, because you can get inside right now. So if you're running mesh, shallow, anything like that, there should be no false step.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, if anybody has any questions for Coach, drop them in there. If not, I know sometimes questions come to you later. So obviously Coach provided his contact information. If anybody has any follow-up questions or just wants to ask him something else in regards to what they do there, there's his email, there's his Twitter account, so feel free, guys. And Coach, once again, man, another great presentation. Can't thank you enough for jumping on and spending the time with us. You'll get used to it. I mean, for it to be awkward for you, you're pretty good at it, staring into the blank screen.
Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully I'm not talking to too many blank faces in my
Right.
Zoom meeting later tonight at 5:30, but
Right, for sure. Well, Coach, once again, man, thank you so much. And thank you for all the coaches that took the time to really jump in here, man, and spend some time with us to get better, man. It was awesome.